Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from Street Scores, and I'm coming with a film session today. We gotta discuss what went down in running back Brian Robinson's preseason debut against the Carolina Panthers, week 1 of the preseason 2022, man. I'm really excited, and the reason that this is a film session and not a highlight tape is because he's not perfect. First of all, he wasn't even supposed to be out there that soon with the ones. He was initially probably supposed to just be out there with the twos with like Taylor Heineke and guys. But then Antonio Gibson fumbled, and the rest is history. And he made the most out of it. But again, he wasn't perfect. He had a lot of positive plays, but there's also some plays that we're going to look at where it's like if he chose the right hole or if he hit it a little bit sooner, if he didn't wait too long, it could have been even more yards. So again, very encouraging debut. And I loved what I saw from him in the passing game. I mean, as a Georgia Bulldog fan, I've been trying to tell people that Brian Robinson is no slouch in the passing game as well. I've seen it with my own eyes, but a lot of people just kept pegging him as a purely just Peyton Barber, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 type of guy. I do see a lot of every down back to him, even on passing downs, especially once he improves his pass blocking. And so that's another film session we're going to have to look at a later date. But today, we're looking specifically at all 6 of his carries. And when you look at the stats, it doesn't really do him justice. Like, it really feels like he did more than just run for 26 yards. Now, granted, he did have a touchdown, and that's going to be the last play that we look at in the positives from that play as well. But again, it just felt like with the flow of the game and how the offense was moving, it just felt like he was more impactful than 26 yards. But again, he left some yards on the field to be completely objective, but still, I'm very encouraged by this debut. I absolutely loved it. I'm ecstatic. I feel like if Antonio Gibson has fumble problems, we have a very capable back that can be the every down guy. I'm super excited. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification immediately. And every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one, make sure you pull up every Friday for the broadcast podcast with Shay, my brother, and me. We talk about everything, music, sports, anything funny going on, especially in sports and music. But anime or whatever topics you may want to ask about in the chat, we can talk about it. Also, pull up every Sunday, including the day, at 6 p.m. where we have a call-in show, and y'all can pull up and have whatever opinions about the team you may want to, especially after that preseason game against the Panthers. And you can also call up if you have any questions. It's a 3-minute timer per call, and just make sure you pull up, man. It's 4:56 p.m. right now, so I'm gonna try to hurry up and knock this video out, get it edited as soon as possible, and hopefully have it out before I start live streaming, but we'll see. And without further ado, let's get it. So what we're going to do is, it's a film session, so we're going to do a lot of pausing and rewinding and really slowing things down to take a look at exactly what's going on. I mean, because granted, he's on the ground, so we have a better view than him, so we expect better out of him because it's just football. But at the same time, he can't see what we see, so we got to break down, and I'm pretty sure Scott Turner, Randy Jordan, all of those guys are going to get with him and try to get him to improve his vision a little bit. So every play, we're going to look at it in regular motion, and then we're going to go back and do the film session breakdown of it. So starting with the first play, his first carry ever as a Washington Commander in the preseason. Again, it's not the regular season, so it technically doesn't count, but this is his first carry. Carson Wentz up there. I like the starting offensive line. The offensive line blocked their tails off. And I'm working on a Pro Football Focus grades video where I also have everybody's snap counts. You'd be surprised that Jahan Dotson and Carson Wentz played the most snaps out of everybody on the offense. It's crazy. Nothing to do with the Brian Robinson film session, but I just saw Jahan Dotson over here and it kind of caught my attention. But let's go ahead and look at the first play, and this is a positive play. Good run. First of all, great blocking, most importantly. That's the most important part. The blocking was spectacular, and I mean, it's nothing really to take from this as far as he goes. Like, it's good patience. Like, the hole isn't there, but he sees it beginning to open up, because like right here, the hole is not there at all. But because of his patience and how he's kind of moving towards the line with intent, but not rushing it, inexperienced running backs will probably try to hit this hole way too early and get gobbled up. He's patient. He allows the linebackers to kind of get lost in the sauce with all of the offensive linemen. Again, it's a beautiful hole. You can't block this any better than this. Nice play design by Scott Turner as well. And then he's able to just hit this hole right here. And then he has better burst than what people expect. And also, the first guy is not going to bring him down, especially as a leg tackle. And it takes a village to bring a guy like him down. Again, just in regular motion, love the blocking. The blocking is the most positive part of this. But at the same time, I still like the carry from Brian Robinson. It could have definitely have been worse. Not every running back gets that many yards on that play. Again, just initially to start it off, again, some inexperienced running backs like Antonio Gibson, when we first got him his first season, he wouldn't do that this year because he's a better running back now. I mean, ignoring fumbles. But like as a running back with vision and patience, Antonio Gibson would make this play. But when we first got him, with him converting from receiver to running back, he probably would have gotten the ball and would have been full sprint. And then this hole wouldn't have opened up yet. He just would have been part of the traffic, may have gotten tripped up. And so Brian Robinson's patience, and again, it's a beautiful block. The offensive line is the MVP of this play, but at the same time, Brian Robinson did a lot with it. And then the burst to get through the hole. And I like the fact that he lowered his shoulder right there. He saw that guy coming. Granted, he didn't get lower than him, but Brian Robinson's so strong he doesn't have to. And so I'll take it, man. I would have liked a more intentional block from Terry McLaurin where he was kind of, but then again, I think he was just giving Brian Robinson options. Like, let me not, I guess, attack this guy just in case if Brian Robinson wants to go the other way. But nah, either way, I want Terry McLaurin to go ahead and go up there and just get that guy and allow Brian Robinson to do what he has to do off of that. But still, at the end of the day, man, it takes a village. I'm going to keep saying that a lot with Brian Robinson throughout his career. Not only throughout this film session, this preseason, this season in total, but like his career, it takes a village, man. The first guy is rarely going to get him down. I mean, he treated that guy like a little boy right there. Man, shouts out to Brian Robinson for that run. But again, offensive line is, of course, the MVP of that play. Now, the next play, and then we're going to see a lot of motion. I mean, it's already Scott Turner's offense, so that's one thing you're always going to see. But we're going to motion Curtis Samuel a lot just in general because you have the DBs panicking. You have the linebackers trying to figure out what's going on based off of that. And then also, if Curtis Samuel moves and a DB follows him, that means they're more than likely in man coverage, and that tells Carson Wentz everything he needs to know if this were to be a passing play. But the reason Scott Turner does it even on a running play is, first of all, they want to take another DB away from that side to get him to that side. But secondly, if you do it every play instead of just only on passing plays, you don't telegraph if it's a passing play or a running play. Say if Scott Turner only uses Curtis Samuel motions on passing plays to see if it's man coverage, now defenses, even though they have shown their man coverage, they're like, oh, it's motion, it must be a pass play, get ready. But if he does it even on running plays, any play possible, doesn't matter what the play is, if Curtis Samuel just goes in motion for literally no reason, and what I mean by that is like no expectations of getting the ball, literally just to distract the defense, that makes us really balanced and very unpredictable. And so seeing Curtis Samuel motion probably made them think this could potentially be a pass. And then Brian Robinson ended up running this way anyway, so that pretty much nullifies my point about moving another defender away from the play that they're running. They're still running this way anyway, but the point still stands. And now to watch the play live to see what he does with it. This is his second carry, and I mean, the offensive line wasn't great there, but he definitely could have done more with it. I mean, if we're just looking at vision wise, I mean, like right here, maybe if he's a little bit quicker, and I mean, of course, you prefer this offensive lineman to seal that off to create a big hole right there. But right here, I love the fact that he's patient, but at the same time, just go ahead and hit that. That's good enough for me. I don't like the fact that he's trying to bounce it outside right here. So this is technically a negative play on his part because this could have gone for more yards. I mean, this hole is still open, and then now he decides way too late to try to go through it. And by then, everybody's rallying from this way. And Charles Leno did everything he could to hold on to that block as long as possible. But after Brian Robinson tried to cut it back in too late, is nothing really Charles Leno could do but hold the guy at that point. So you might as well just let him go. And yeah, that play is on Brian Robinson. So we have one positive play, one negative play so far. Again, I love the motion with Curtis Samuel by Scott Turner. And so yeah, man, this is definitely a negative play on Brian Robinson, even though because of his strength and his, ability to change direction, a little jump cut that he kind of did a little bit, he was still able to get a little bit of yards out of it, which is not something every running back could do. But this should have definitely have been more than that. In live motion, it looks like the hole was open a little less, but still, like, I think he definitely could have just went right up there immediately instead of that little hesitation right there. Definitely could have been more yards, and who knows how many yards it could have been, because let's pause it when the hole is open. Let's see what's going on here. Right there, he's good for a while, especially if Terry McLaurin blocks his guy, which he does. And before all of this is over here, he should have already been through there. He should be up here by now before all of this gets moved over here. And Curtis Samuel's not doing a great job with this guy, but it's enough. And Brian Robinson, I mean, technically would have just had to beat that guy who's tangled up by Curtis Samuel and this guy. And who knows what would have happened after that. So Brian Robinson, that's a negative play right there. Prefer better, but hey, man, it's not terrible. It's not absolutely terrible. And then here we go, play number 3, some more motion, but this time by Curtis Hodges. Oh, whoa, I couldn't even look at Brian Robinson because Curtis Hodges got bullied there a little bit. Granted, it is an edge rusher, and we don't expect Curtis Hodges to block an edge rusher, but you see the difference between what Curtis Hodges did and what Charles Leno did. Look at Curtis Hodges get bullied, and then, oh, that's not even Charles Leno. That was somebody pulling over. Yeah, that may have been Wes Schweitzer. I think that's Wes Schweitzer pulling. And look at the difference. Look at the difference. Man, Curtis Hodges needed help right there. But all right, so let's focus on Brian Robinson. We've already seen the play. Sorry, I go on tangents with film sessions. I just try to notice as much as I possibly can. Plus, I just naturally notice stuff like that. There's a lot of funny stuff that goes on throughout games that kind of go unnoticed like that. With Curtis Hodges getting bullied, but then Wes Schweitzer's like, I got your back. Look at this. Curtis Hodges getting straight up bullied, but Wes Schweitzer is like, I got your back. I got him. Yeah. Now Curtis Hodges is with him. Like, yeah, my big brother's here now. What you gonna do? All right, let's go back to Brian Robinson. No, I'll keep going on tangents. I'm sorry. I love film. I love football, so this is what I do. And, I mean, really the only negative is that little cut right there, like, I mean, you have 2 holes. And that hesitation right there, if you would have just stuck with your gut and gone through that hole like you originally would have, or if you would have just never made that weird cut and taken that hole immediately. I mean, I granted he's probably trying to avoid Wes Schweitzer's leg right here, but still, if you would have just chosen that hole immediately rather than this little overly patient kind of thing that he got going on, I think he would have gotten a lot more yards. But again, I would have preferred if he would have hit this hole. This was the correct hole. Again, I don't want to be too analytical because, first of all, it's a rookie. It's his first preseason game. But also, us as fans, we're looking at it from a view that Brian Robinson would pay all of the money he owns to be able to look at it from. If while he was running, somehow he had a camera implanted in his eye that can see this far back, you know how many touchdowns he would get a game? How many touchdowns anybody would get a game? So granted, I know I'm doing a film session and I don't want to be too overly critical, but I'm just trying to, address like how they would address it in the film session. Like after the game is over, throughout the week, in practices and team meetings when they're doing film sessions, what are they telling them? And that's what I'm trying to tell y'all. Again, I hate to be overly critical because I know I can't do this. I definitely cannot do this. Again, this viewpoint that we have as fans from this view right here, the all 22, is ideal. This is the reason why we're looking at it from this way. But still, it would have been lovely. I mean, even though Buddy right here getting bullied a little bit, you still could have hit that hole. And maybe that's why. Maybe once he saw Buddy leaning back, maybe give him the benefit of the doubt right there. He saw Buddy leaning back, and then, yeah, that's literally when he was like, oh, yeah, that hole is dead. But he ended up recovering, and that actually ended up being a good hole to go through. But then, by then he got gobbled up because indecisive, had 2 options, chose one too late, and, yeah, it just got ugly. All right, moving on to the next play. Let's see what's going on. What's happening here? We got more motion, and you can tell they're in zone coverage just off of the fact that nobody directly followed them. Everybody pointed, everybody shifted over. All right, you got him, I got him, you got him. Okay, I got this guy, you got that guy type of thing. So this is clearly zone coverage for Carson Wentz to look at, and he was looking up the field before he snapped the ball to see what it was, but they're still running the ball either way, so it literally actually like doesn't matter. But let's go ahead and look at it in live motion, see what kind of play this is. And I mean, it wasn't really much there. I'll take that as a positive because there honestly wasn't much there for him. And the yards that he got out of that just off of, because like if we're just looking hole wise, he's getting the ball, but that hole that was originally there right now, by the time he gets the ball from Carson Wentz, that hole is almost gone. And so he see him looking, and I prefer a better block right there. That could have been way more yards with a better block from this offensive lineman right here. It's kind of blurry. I can't even exactly see whose number that is or who that exactly is. But either way, if he would have sealed that off better, we would have been straight. But then again, Brian Robinson probably could have helped them a little by going a little bit more outside. But still, if that offensive line could have sealed that off just a little bit to the left, Brian Robinson would have had this entire hole. But again, I'm not too mad at this play because, I mean, look at all of the trash around him, all the people grabbing him. And after being touched by 2 Carolina Panthers, he meets a guy that's more prepared than he is. He's lower and everything, and he kind of pushes him out the way. And it takes a village to bring Brian Robinson down. So that's very encouraging. It's not a very positive play, but it's definitely some positives you can take from the play. And then live action right here. I mean, nothing you can really do right there. I'm not too mad at him. Let me replay it again just to make sure like there wasn't a hole I'm missing. Yeah, I mean, it's just the play is clearly designed for he's supposed to go right there. I'm just assuming by the way he even moved up towards the offensive line. But these guys just forced our offensive linemen to be forced into each other. And then they also have the outside shoulders of each guy. So there's literally nowhere for Brian Robinson to go here. So he just might as well stay patient and hope that hole opens up at some point, which is what he's doing. He's hoping that those guys eventually move those guys to the left, this guy to the right, and they do, but it's kind of late. And then by then everybody's rallying to him, and then even after that he's carrying guys for another 2-3 yards. So that, I'll take that play as a positive. It's not the best play, but I mean, he did what he could with what he had. Again, you would hope to have more separation right here. This is supposed to be a hole already. You got Wes Schweitzer going to the second level to get the linebacker, and that's supposed to be a bigger hole than that. Again, he can't bounce it outside because even though this hole is clogged up, these guys have the outside shoulders of each of the offensive linemen that they're dealing with. There's literally nowhere for him to go. They're literally waiting for him to go that way. And so Brian Robinson's best case scenario is to sit here, keep his feet moving. You don't want to get flat-footed, but just keep stutter stepping, waiting, and just hope that these guys can go ahead and create a chasm for you to go through. And they did. It was a little too late. Buddy right here was on his knees at one point, and then it opened up enough. I mean, Brian Robinson to get that many yards out of that play is definitely a positive because that could have been a stop for no gain. And then here we go, the last carry right here. You have Brian Robinson on the touchdown, and there's nothing you can do. A little bit quicker than what people expect. They were not expecting him to be that quick, I guess. I mean, I guess you can blame also one of the DBs or linebackers who's supposed to be there. Like this DB right here, more motion, which kind of threw him off. Give Scott Turner a little bit of credit for the play design. Some motion right here. This DB originally had him, and then they had to talk about it because it's not man coverage, I guess, or it's some mix of zone and man, because he like followed him a little bit, but then he was like, nah, somebody else got it. I'll focus on this. And then by then he's kind of lost in the play, and he's too late to get the Brian Robinson. It was his job to get the Brian Robinson, and even though that motion technically brought him closer to the play to where he could make the play, it also kept him off guard. He was too distracted. We went ahead and snapped the ball before he could fully figure out what was going on. He wasn't even able to get into his stance, and because of that, first of all, great blocking by the offensive line. You got holes to choose from. You can go here and run this guy over, honestly. If you just, I mean, you're Brian Robinson. This guy, he doesn't even look like he's ready to tackle, like he even wants to tackle you. You could have taken that if you wanted to, but I appreciate him taking the safer option because everybody just suddenly closed in on this out of nowhere. I mean, in the blink of an eye. And then he's too strong, and he's quicker than what people expected. He didn't even have to use his strength. But even so, even if somebody was a little bit further in front of him, like kind of helmet to helmet almost, I have perfect faith in him being able to run those guys over. I mean, look at him. He's standing up after all of these guys fell. You know, a weaker running back, I mean, me as street scores, I would have, even if I got this touchdown somehow, I definitely would have fell on the ground with people tugging at me, people trying to grab me and things like that. And Brian Robinson just treated all of these guys like little boys. And even though it's not full-blown shoulder in you contact, it's just that leg strength, and leg tackles are just not gonna work. That's that Alvin Kamara kind of thing going on. I'm not saying he's Alvin Kamara, but one of the biggest like positives to an Alvin Kamara, even outside of what he contributes in the passing game, is just his ability to just, it doesn't matter what contact is going on, his legs are so strong that if you're not doing a perfect square up tackle, you're not bringing him down. There's just too much strength in his legs, and look at that. I mean, he went through unscathed on that play. And I don't know how much credit to give him as far as picking the right hole, because what if this was just designed? I'm not sure if this is a zone running scheme. Maybe it is. I mean, by the looks of it, it looks like it actually may be a zone scheme, and he chose that hole himself, because it does look like he considered that hole, saw the DB, and was like, I can outrace you and at the very least outmuscle you into the end zone by the time we meet from this hole to this hole. By the time we get around these two guys, I think I can take you one-on-one. And I appreciate that split-second decision there. So yeah, it definitely looks like a zone run. Does not look like a power run scheme right here. He chose the right hole. He burst through it a little bit quicker, a little bit more explosive than people expect for him to get there in time, for them guys to not even be able to square up with him. They're trying to tackle him by the side because of his quickness, and then he has the strength to where he just go ahead and goes right through him, and it's just, yeah, that's over with. It's nothing you can do. That's a touchdown, my boy. Leave him alone. All right, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please leave a like on this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. And as always, man, I appreciate all the support, man. Shouts out to all of y'all that pulled up to the live streams, and that's going to continue pulling up to the live stream. Shouts out to everybody that donates. Shouts out to everybody that leaves a like. And of course, shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors. Name you see scrolling on the screen right now. Man, I really appreciate all of y'all a lot, man. Y'all don't understand. It means a lot to me. And man, I'm so excited about football being back, so I'm gonna get these film sessions out. I still need to do rookie film sessions from them in college, and I'm trying to work on that. I may have to come out with some of those in the regular season because I promised them. Even though it's late, I want to make sure I at least stick to my promise, even if I am late. And those will of course be exclusive to channel members only. Again, man, I really appreciate y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.